Some mysteries refuse to stay buried, and the ones gathered here are the kind that linger long after the lights go out. Few stories feel as strange as the tale of the village of Woolpit in 12th century Suffolk, England, where farmers working the fields one harvest reportedly stumbled upon two young children crouched near a pit dug to trap wolves. The pair, a brother and a sister, had skin tinted an unmistakable shade of green. They wore garments no one recognized, spoke in a tongue nobody could place, and for weeks they would touch nothing but raw broad beans. As the months passed, the greens slowly drained from their skin and they began to eat ordinary food. The boy weakened and died, but the girl lived on, learned the local language, and offered an account that only deepened the puzzle. She insisted they had come from a sunless realm she called St. Martin's Land, a shadowed world beneath the earth. No one has ever proven where the children truly came from. Some scholars argue they were the starving orphans of Flemish settlers driven from their homes by violence, their green pallor the product of severe malnutrition. Others reach for stranger answers, imagining travelers from another dimension or a hidden civilization sealed below the surface. The truth was never recovered, and Woolpit's green children remain one of the medieval world's most quietly disturbing riddles. Now consider the prisoner France tried so hard to erase. In the late 17th century, a man was taken into custody and handed to a trusted jailer who carried him from fortress to fortress, eventually to the Bastille itself. Wherever he went, his face stayed hidden behind a mask, said by legend to be forged of iron though more likely cut from dark velvet. Guards were forbidden to learn his name. When he died at the dawn of the 18th century, he was buried under a false identity, and every scrap of paper tying him to the world was destroyed. What unsettles people most is not the mask, but the sheer effort spent to keep one man anonymous. Was he a shamed aristocrat, a political prisoner who knew something ruinous? Or, as later writers loved to suggest, the secret twin of the reigning king, whose mere existence could have shattered the monarchy? Centuries of digging have turned up no certain answer, and the masked man slipped out of history exactly as his captors intended. Across the world in early 19th century Japan, fishermen along the eastern coast supposedly came upon something that should not have existed. Drifting on the waves was a sealed, rounded vessel of metal and wood, fitted with windows of glass or crystal. When they pried it open, they found a woman inside with skin pale as paper and hair the color of rust. She spoke no language they knew and clutched a small box she would not let anyone near. Frightened and baffled, the villagers placed her back inside the strange craft and pushed it out to sea. The level of detail in the old records is what gives the story its chill, describing a sealed pod and a stranger who seemed entirely out of place and time. Some believe she was a shipwrecked European who had simply drifted impossibly far. Others tie the account to garbled folklore, and a modern crowd insists the craft was something not of this earth. Whatever the truth, the woman and her sealed box vanished back into the water and into legend. In the winter of the mid-1800s, the people of Devon, England woke after a heavy snowfall to a sight that emptied the breath from their lungs. Stretching for more than 100 miles across fields, rooftops, and walls ran a single continuous line of hoof-shaped prints, each cloven like the foot of a goat. The tracks ignored every obstacle in their path, appearing on one side of a wall and resuming on the other as if whatever made them pass straight through stone. No animal anyone knew could have covered that distance in one night across such terrain. Panic spread quickly, and many were convinced the devil himself had walked among them. Skeptics blamed startled animals, leaping rodents, or strange thawing patterns in the snow. Yet none of those explanations ever fully accounted for the precision and reach of the trail. The marks faded with the melt, but the dread they left behind never quite did. Far out in the Pacific, on the windswept stretch of Easter Island, lies a mystery carved in wood. The Rapa Nui people inscribed rows of intricate glyphs onto tablets in a system known today as Rongorongo, written so that each line runs in the opposite direction to the one before it. Despite generations of linguists straining to break it, the script has never been read. What haunts researchers is the chance that this was a writing system invented entirely on its own, with no outside influence at all, hinting at a literacy that flourished and then died. By the time outsiders arrived, the island's population had been gutted by famine, conflict, and slave raids, and the few who might have understood the glyphs were gone. The surviving tablets are cracked and incomplete, and without a single key to unlock them, their message stays sealed forever. Pulled from a sunken Roman ship near a small Greek island at the start of the 20th century was a corroded lump of bronze that looked like nothing at all. Decades of careful study revealed it to be a geared analog instrument of staggering complexity, built to chart the movements of the heavens, predict eclipses, and track the cycle of the ancient games. Nothing of comparable sophistication would appear again for over 1,000 years. The craftsmanship simply should not have been possible for its era, yet there it sat, undeniable. Who designed it and where they learned such mechanical genius remains unknown, as does the question of why that knowledge seemed to evaporate so completely afterward. History is also scarred by sudden silences. In a remote Canadian settlement during the early 20th century, a fur trapper is said to have arrived expecting the usual bustle and found instead total stillness. Every man, woman, and child had gone. Fires still smoldered, food sat half-eaten, and belongings lay exactly where they had been set down. Most disturbing of all, graves in the cemetery had reportedly been opened and emptied, with no tracks leading away. Investigators found nothing to explain it, and skeptics question whether the event happened at all. True or invented, the image of an entire community vanishing into the wilderness refuses to fade. The sea keeps its own secrets. A merchant vessel drifting through the strait between Sumatra and Malaysia in the late 1940s allegedly sent out a frantic distress call claiming the whole crew was dying, ending with 2 final words before silence fell. When rescuers reached the ship, they reportedly found every sailor dead, faces locked in terror, with no wounds to explain it. Before the vessel could be examined, fire erupted in the hold and the ship sank, carrying its answers down with it. No firm record of the vessel exists, which leads some to call the whole affair a fabrication, yet it endures as one of the most frightening tales the ocean ever produced. Then there is the man found on an Australian beach just after the Second World War, well-dressed, peaceful, and utterly unidentifiable. Every label had been cut from his clothing, he carried no papers, and no cause of death could be established. Hidden in a pocket was a scrap of paper bearing a phrase meaning ended or finished, torn from a rare book that later turned up nearby with a page of uncrackable code scrawled inside. A local woman connected to the book seemed shaken when shown his face yet claimed no knowledge of him. Spy, jilted lover, or something else entirely, his name and his story were never recovered. High in the snowbound mountains of the Soviet Union, a group of seasoned hikers met an end that still defies every explanation. When they failed to return, searchers found their tents slashed open from the inside, as though the group had clawed their way out in blind panic and fled barefoot into killing cold. Their bodies turned up scattered across the slopes, some with crushing internal injuries and no outward wounds, a few missing eyes, one missing a tongue. Faint traces of radiation were reportedly found on their clothing. Avalanche, secret weapons testing, sudden infrasound driving them mad with fear. Every theory captures a piece and none captures the whole. They walked calmly to their deaths in the dark, and the mountain has never said why. What ties all of these together is the same quiet horror, the sense that the past holds doors we cannot open and questions that may never close. Each one was real enough to be recorded, strange enough to be doubted, and stubborn enough to survive the centuries unsolved. If any of these stories stayed with you, leave a comment,